I waited till the next day. I came home to my wife sobbing, feeling that I'd broken my body and was starting to lose hope about living a long, healthy life.
Scott, how did you find carnivore?
Well, Dave, there's a long answer and a short answer to that. And the short answer, I guess I would have to say, I believe that carnivore found me. But the long answer would have started about 25 years ago, um, when I started to have weight management problems, and tried everything under the sun to control my weight, from limiting calories to working out, uh, Weight Watchers, Simply for Life, or Body for Life, I guess it was called. Lots of different attempts to try to control my weight. Even went vegetarian at one point for about 4 years. And then after that, just really fell off the wagon and started to eat everything under the sun, until I was 51 years old. So it would have been in 2021. I got a call from my doctor who asked me if I was sitting down. And at that point, I thought she was going to tell me that I had cancer. So anyway, I found a place to sit down so she could tell me what she had to say. And this was following some blood work a couple of weeks before. So she told me that I had a pretty chronic and severe case of type 2 diabetes, and that I would need to get to my pharmacist immediately. The, um, the state of my health was very poor at that point. My A1C was extremely high at about 13, over 13%, 13.2, I think, percent. My triglycerides were out of control. My cholesterol was out of control. My blood pressure was out of control. And she was afraid for my life. And she put that fear into me as well. And she instructed me to get to my pharmacist that day. She had already called in all my prescriptions and had them pre-approved with my insurance company and set up an appointment with my pharmacist. So, in fact, I couldn't bring myself to go to that appointment. I waited till the next day. I came home to my wife sobbing, feeling that I'd broken my body and was starting to lose hope about living a long, healthy life. Although, I hadn't really been treating myself very well, but I do love life and I wanted to live. So that really led me just to start researching. The first search I did was, what's the life expectancy of a type 1 and a type 2 diabetic? I wanted to know what I was up against and learned that there was a significant reduction in life expectancy. Um, and also started researching what diabetes was, how nutrition impacted uh, diabetes, how it develops. And the more research I did, the more it led me to, well, I guess specifically the search was, is there anything I can do to address type 2 diabetes? Is there any way to slow it down or stop it or even reverse it? And I'm, I got to say, I'm very thankful to live in a time when we have access to all the information at our fingertips, YouTube videos and doctors who are sharing information, and was just, yeah, so appreciative and thankful to have found a possibility. I wasn't sure if it was the truth or not at the time, but the possibility was that it could be reversed. And so having been really angry with myself and angry with food, the first thing I did was a 24-hour, I say a 24-hour fast. It was a 48-hour fast. I thought, if food did this to me, then I'm just not going to eat. So I got through a 48-hour fast, kind of out of the blue, and noticed immediately that I started to feel better. So um, I just continued, excuse me, with my research. and found a slew of different doctors who I put my faith in. The first one was actually Dr. Sten Ekberg. And kind of as I move through my experience, I find not a lot of people know who he is, but he was the first individual that I found that seemed to really have the perfect balance of technicality for me. So he explained things in a way not too scientific, but scientific enough to keep my interest. And the advice that he gave sounded solid. So I really put my faith in him and followed him from then on. And as I worked through modifying my nutrition, I started to find more and more individuals, doctors, and scientists who were all expressing the same message, which was basically in the beginning just to eliminate all processed food and cut sugar out of the diet. And then it progressed for me to a low glycemic whole food way of eating with a focus or priority on animal protein. And that brought me, I guess, to the point where I moving along through my journey, and people who started to see my results and started to come to me to ask what I had done to achieve my results. Um, uh, slowly started to move away from the buzzwords a little bit, like carnivore or ketovore or all these things seem to attract the carnivore police or the keto police. So the way I like to describe the way of eating that I discovered is a low glycemic whole food way of eating with a priority on animal protein. And even though most of the time at this point in my life we are very follow a pretty strict carnivore way of eating, I do still drink black coffee, and I do have onions occasionally. And there are other times that we indulge completely. If there's a weekend or a special occasion, we'll eat what we want, but we get right back on our way of eating. So that's the journey in a nutshell. But just to back up a little bit, just to express how quickly after I want to say 30 or 40 or more years of abusing my body with um, all kinds of, we'll call it food, but most of it wasn't even food. Um, when I started and modified my nutrition, I was on insulin and metformin and had a continuous glucose monitor. And I was increasing my insulin by 2 units a day every 2 days until my blood sugar, my fasting blood sugar, fell to an acceptable level. And then I noticed it just continued to fall. So at one point, I called my doctor and said, "Look, I'm only on half the dose of insulin I was when I started." And she laughed at me and said, "If you're on that many units of insulin, you don't need insulin." So I was off of insulin within 60 days of starting, and within 92 days of my diagnosis, I had completely reversed type 2 diabetes. So my A1C had dropped to 5.6% and continued to drop down to my best, which was 4.9. I'm not there now, but I did achieve 4.9%, and it slowly crept back up. But as time goes on, my goal is to become more and more disciplined and really to lead by example, because we've got more and more people that are coming to us to ask us how we got here and how we fixed our issues. And as I say issues, because I really only embraced this way of eating, way of nutrition to reverse type 2 diabetes, but in turn resolved about 20 different metabolic issues. So there were different things like excruciating joint pain that I had, inflammation, to the point where I could barely walk at times. Um, there was heartburn or reflux that I dealt with since I was 20 years old. every day I dealt with reflux. Bleeding gums. I had poor oral hygiene, although I was brushing and flossing. I could never really seem to get the bleeding gums to stop. Um, there's a slew of other things that may come up as we talk, but those were some of them. So as I worked through this, within a short period of time, the joint pain disappeared, the bleeding gums stopped, the heartburn is gone. Although when I indulge and don't pay attention to my nutrition, it comes back. So there's certain reminders that tell me, hey, look, you're getting off track. You need to get back on track and go back to this whole food, low glycemic way of eating, or we'll call it carnivore or close to it. And I know instantly that I feel much better, uh, and not only that, but think more clearly. My memory is better. I'm more analytical and logical, and those are all things that I had forgotten. And I often tell people, now with this way of eating, I feel like I'm in my 20s again. But the more I say it, I'm realizing that I didn't even feel this good in my 20s. So I again, I'm so thankful for all these individual doctors that I found, and thank them and people like you as well for giving us a platform to share our stories of success and healing. And I really have to give a huge shout out to Dr. Tony Hampton, who we met last year on our low carb cruise, who's been a huge influence. And I like to call him the angel on my shoulder, because he has such a calming and soothing voice. And I always reflect back on the time that we spent with him on that low carb cruise. And he's really been an inspiration to me as a carnivore, and his wife, who's a type 1 diabetic, who's managing that on a very low carbohydrate way of eating as well.
Mm.
So those individuals, and I really have to bring up Dr. Ben Bickman as well, who I got to meet on that cruise as well. Was also it was amazing to meet him, someone who's dedicated their life to sharing the scientific reason why the certain food that we eat has the impact that it does on our lives, and also to give us the confidence to know that what we're doing is the right thing. Because I have to admit, over the years, sometimes I wonder, like, is meat really going to really healing, or is it going to lead to heart disease? And so sometimes I question that. And then when people come to me for advice, I'm like, am I doing the right thing by sharing my path with them? And I worry about their health. But the more we learn, the more time passes, and the more we look at our blood work, the more we realize that we're on the right path. So I was able to collect my blood work over the last 4 years, and I took it all from the all of our blood work is uploaded to a provincial website. So I was able to download it all, and I plotted it all in a spreadsheet, because when I went back to my general practitioner, I wanted to show her the results that I've had with this way of eating. And although we get skepticism at every turn, and sometimes there's the keyboard warriors out there who like to be critical. But having that history of blood work available, and to look at the trends and show how being consistent with a proper way of eating can be, it's the proof. The proof is in the pudding, and then there's no question. So I'm completely comfortable now with the path that I've chosen, uh, the way I feel, the way my skin feels and looks, uh, the energy that I have, the mental clarity that I have, and the blood work to back it all up.
Mm, mm. So that's the thing, right? You've got all the keyboard warriors, that will make you feel like, oh, am I really doing the right thing? But at the end of the day, you can't argue with the results, right?
Right. Absolutely. And it's hard not to want to be argumentative as well, and that's something that we are really practicing now, is not to engage with the argument, but just have faith in our path and keep sharing the successes, because in addition to the proof is all of the testimonials that we hear. We just got back from meat stock in Tennessee, and I'll tell you, we were blown away. Like, um, many more stories of life saving interventions, just with food, just with healing with food. We don't need medication. We don't need supplements. We're realizing this now. Like, even over the past few years, we thought we needed to supplement, and we're realizing now it's all really just a waste of time and money. That 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 whole food, and the right whole food is really all we need to thrive, and that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
One thing I want to check on is that, I mean, in that time frame, that more than halving of your A1C is amazing. But how about your blood pressure? What's happening with that now?
The blood pressure, it's not perfect, but it's well within a range that I'm happy with. And
Mm.
having seen some naturopaths that have also kind of reaffirmed that I'm on the right path, have suggested to me that the blood pressure medication that I was on was probably doing more harm than the slightly elevated blood pressure that I have now. So, and the other thing I've discovered is that maybe I do have a slightly higher sensitivity, and maybe some food sensitivities. So when I am more disciplined, that blood pressure comes down to a normal or even below normal range. So that is one of the other things, like the reflux that comes back, or like the joint pain that comes back. That blood pressure creeps up easily. So that is just another reminder that tells me that I need to be more disciplined with my nutrition.
Right. Um, the amazing thing is you did all this with nutrition, and in in a period of months, it's just like switching, like turning a switch off,
Yeah,
you know? And but most people, the problem with the world these days is most people just trust everything their doctor says, right?
yeah.
So most people, when they got that phone call from the doctor,
Hmm.
when she said, "Are you sitting down?" They would have just gone, "Oh, yeah, well, I'll take the meds." And, you
Yeah.
know, 10, 20 years later, they're in a worse state than they are when the doctor's initially talking to them, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is a bit of an aspect of trying to convey fear. I don't like to think that my doctor doesn't have my best interest in mind, and sometimes I feel like maybe they're intentionally misleading us, and but I don't know. I have to trust that they really have our best interest in mind, and that they're just following the standard of care to protect their careers and their licenses, and that's what the government they work for expects of them. So, and really, she hasn't been too resistive. Although, having been diagnosed with diabetes, in her eyes, I'll always be diabetic, and she'll only say you're you're keeping your diabetes in remission, but you are a diabetic, and as such, the standard of care is to strongly recommend that we put you on a statin drug. And so every time I go to see her, she tells me we're going to put you on a statin drug, uh, to which I thank her and refuse politely. Uh, and I've also um, come to learn from Dr. Siwez that, in his opinion, that a statin drug should never be recommended unless first a CAC score is done. So the last time that she had suggested a statin drug, I asked for a CAC score and she refused. So if I want a CAC score, I'm going to have to go to the US and pay for it myself. Which I may do in the near future, so that when I do go back to the doctor for my regular appointment, and she suggests a statin again, I can say, look, my CAC score hopefully is going to come back at a zero. I don't know, but I'm feeling like it's going to be very low. And then I'll have some ammunition just to say I don't need a statin drug. I have no blockage. There's no reason for it.
And so just talking about the topic of statins, like what has happened with your cholesterol? Like the triglycerides went down?
Triglycerides went down to the bottom of the acceptable range. So I know the values in the US are much different, but in Canada, my triglycerides were also at, in Canada, 12. And the acceptable range, I think, is up to around 2 or 3, if I'm not mistaken. So in that period between my first and my second blood work after my diagnosis, when I went back for blood work again, my triglycerides were down to 1.0. So another marker that was basically laughable. So I went from 1 foot in the grave to um, um, almost in perfect health, which it blew my mind for the short period of time that I had really focused on this. And mind you, I did a little bit of exercise as well. I had connected with a friend of ours who was a coach in Montreal, who was helping to guide us with our nutrition as well, and a little bit of a workout routine. But we didn't do much. We didn't go to a gym. We tried to do 30 minutes to 60 minutes of walking on a semi-regular basis, not every day, maybe 2 3 times a week. We would get that walk in, a little bit of resistance band training and some calisthenics, just stuff we could do at home. So, um, you know, that combined with the nutrition, it just turned my poor health on its head, and yeah, just seemed
Right.
to fix it all.
Well, I think what tends to happen, certainly for me, when you kind of turn your health around like that, the the next reaction is to be like, okay, well, I've got to tell everyone about this.
Yeah,
Did you have that kind of feeling?
absolutely. It's one of those things you want to shout from that mountaintop, especially when you see other people around you that are suffering, and again, especially when it comes to family and friends. Uh, it's really difficult to not um, try to preach the solution, especially when it's something that is so different from what we've learned and been programmed with our whole lives. To all of a sudden say uh, it's all wrong, we're doing it all wrong, and especially with my mom, who was a nurse her whole life, and was starting to give me advice when I was diagnosed, and then um, when I came to the truth and started to see the results, and had to go back to her and say, look, it's the advice you're giving me is not right. Like, we have to take a different approach here. And thankfully, my mom, who's now in her early 80s, has come to realize that this is the right path, and she's joined us on this journey as well. So yeah, we're really excited. Her and my stepdad Jack, um, they are following along. They're doing their best. They've moved into an apartment now where they are exposed to a lot of their peers who are eating the standard American slash Canadian diet. So it's difficult for them to try to go outside the norm. Uh, but in private, I know they're doing their best, and they're doing well, and they really enjoy coming to visit with us and eating brisket and ribs and steak and all the meat that I've really tried to hone my skills on, because we do love variety. And so now I've just taken the I guess the carnivore type food offerings to a new level with smoking meat and barbecue and seafood and all these things that we know are nourishing for us.
Nice. So, a typical day of eating, what does it look like for you?
Well, as I kind of moved through this learning phase, I've discovered that intermittent fasting is very beneficial for our health. So typically Monday to Friday, I'll eat one meal a day, and for me, just based on my schedule, would be supper when I get home from work. On the weekend, sometimes it'll be one meal, sometimes it'll be two, and I try to throw in at least once a month a 48-hour fast. As far as food itself goes, I prefer a rib steak. I would eat rib steak every day if I could afford it. Um, sometimes it's pork belly, sometimes it's a good quality beef hot dog. Sometimes it's bacon and eggs. Um, when we're splurging, we'll go out and get some lobster. We love seafood, so lobster, clams, mussels. Um, when we can get good quality wild salmon or trout or any other fish like that. So, like I said, we try to keep lots of variety. Ribs on the smoker is delicious. Sometimes we'll do lamb, a lamb shank, different cuts of beef, roast beef on the smoker. As you can tell, I have a huge fondness for my smoker. It really changes the taste and opens up a whole new variety of meat. So
Oh, nice. And do you find that you go out to restaurants very often? Have you found any that'll kind of make sure there's no seed oils and that kind of thing?
I find that when we do go out, it's during one of those times when I'm planning on indulging anyway, so I don't pay much attention. But eating out has um, really been reduced in frequency. We unless we're on vacation and are kind of, I shouldn't say forced to eat out. There's always options, but at home through our regular routine, we just don't eat out anymore.
And what is the price of meat like where you are? Like, are they typically trying to, government wise, so they're trying to push you in a more plant-based direction?
Well, I think locally that's a big push. We do have some plant-based influencer doctors in the area who are really preaching that nutritional way of life. I'm not sure that that's influencing the price of beef. I think it's just becoming more and more expensive to buy good quality meat as we try to focus on grass fed, grass finished beef and grass fed, grass finished butter and tallow. Um, we do rely occasionally on places like Costco, but we're focused more and more on trying to source our beef and lamb from local farms, so that we know we can get most often grass fed, grass finished, or grass fed, grain finished. Especially with our climate in the winter, it's very difficult to get grass fed, grass finished beef. But again, we do our best, and that way we're supporting our local farmers as well, because we don't even have to leave our province to get that product that we need. So we're keeping our money in the province and in the country, and out of big food grocery stores.
Yeah. So, you've had such positive results, and at the time, positive results that you could never have expected. When you first got that news, I
Mhm.
imagine the last thing you would have been thinking is, "Oh, I'll easily turn this around."
Yeah, no,
You
no,
you would.
it's just the opposite. I didn't think it was a death sentence, but I truly believed that my life expectancy had been shortened and that my body was
Mhm.
broken beyond repair.
Yeah. So, given that, I mean, at this stage, you would not be entertaining any thoughts of going back?
No, no, and like I said, I do uh, indulge occasionally. But at this point, my desire is to live a long, healthy, and functional life. And I've heard it said before, I used to say it to myself quite often, and I just recently heard it from other people at meat stock, that their goal now is to live to be 120. And coming from a place where I felt like I was going to drop any day, um, I felt frail, I felt weak, I was in pain, to the point now where I have no pain. I don't feel frail, and I feel like I could actually live to be 120, as long as I continue to stay focused. And really, I don't want to make it sound like a difficult thing. I use the word discipline like it's a difficult thing, but if you focus on the things that you love that are nourishing, the rest is just noise. We don't need processed food. We don't need Pop Tarts and corn flakes and uh, granola. Like, we can live easily without those things. And so again, it's to focus on the things that we do love, and we love seafood, we love pork, we love beef. So yeah, it's just a matter of looking away from the temptation, and focus on what we love. And we love life, so we need to focus on that too.
Yeah, and I think those temptations become less and less over time, like, it's like
Yeah.
it's just it dissipates. After a while, you feel like, "Why was I so emotionally involved with this stuff in the first place?"
Yeah, and that really speaks to the process, because moving from the standard North American diet to a low glycemic whole food way of eating is a process for some people. For me, it wasn't too bad, but I've seen others really struggle through for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where it was really like getting off of hard drugs, going through the withdrawal and having severe headache and flu-like symptoms and nausea, and it can be miserable. So really, I like to share that with people who are learning from us, is that you need to take it slow, and you need to remove the carbohydrates slowly from your diet. And then once you do, it's really important to try to stay on track, because you really don't want to be flip flopping back and forth between high protein, high fat, and being fat adapted back over to a glucose centric diet for fuel. So it really confuses the gut biome, and so once you get to that place, and you overcome the the food addiction, or the carb addiction, you overcome being hangry, and getting the shakes and headaches from not getting your carb fix. When you get over that, you don't want to go back. So that's why it gets easier, and then that's also what makes uh, short-term or intermittent fasting, and even long-term fasting, feasible and doable, is that we don't go back um, to glucose as a source of fuel, and we never feel that overwhelming uh, sensation of hunger. Of course, we still feel hunger, but it's that hormonal reminder that your stomach's empty, but it comes and it goes. And when it's gone, you just move about your day. And being fat adapted, you've got, I mean, I know I still have an endless supply of energy from fat. So I'll rely on that to get me through a longer term fast. And really, my goal, I'm really wanting to try to get some longer fasts into my routine, maybe once every 2 or 3 months, up to a 72-hour fast, just to see how that feels.
And, you know, that's the cool thing, is understanding that hunger is not something that you have to address immediately by just
Mhm.
ramming anything down your face,
Yeah.
like, that's how I've felt before, You
Hmm.
and in the 3 years I've been carnivore, I haven't opened the fridge for no reason. But it was a common thing that I used to do, just, like,
Yeah.
open the door and look in there and, like, "What can I have?"
Are you trying to cool off the kitchen?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I will admit I've done that, and and I think I have to admit that I had more of a food addiction than I thought. But again, the more that we stay on track, the easier it is, and that's why I still drink black coffee. I find that for me is a bit of a crutch. We do buy the best quality coffee we can. It is fair trade organic coffee, and it's a dark roast, so there's a little less caffeine in it, but more flavor. And when I'm hungry, I turn to that coffee, and that's what kind of gets me through those periods of time where I might have, you know, let my defenses down and grab something that I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same about the black coffee, and it's still a thing for me as well.
Yeah.
So, if someone came to you and said, "Okay, tell me what to do, Scott. I want to try give this a try," you would recommend they transition in slowly?
Absolutely, like I said, and again, I'll use that term, low glycemic whole food way of eating with a focus on animal protein, and that way you don't scare people into thinking, "What do you mean I can't eat vegetables anymore?" So, and I found that for me and my wife as well, that it was a bit of a natural progression from keto to carnivore. The first time I'd heard the notion, listening to Paul Saladino about being a carnivore, I thought it was ridiculous. I was like, there's no way that can be, a sustainable way of eating. And then as time went on, it was just a natural progression. And I really enjoy the simplicity. Like I'm not searching for a side to have with my rib steak. If I want a side with my rib steak, I'll eat another piece of rib steak or some bacon or something like that. But coming back to advice for others, and I'm in the process right now of creating a bit of a I'll call it a keto cheat sheet, just so that people know in point form what to expect. And so instructions on reducing slowly over a couple of week period, reducing your carbohydrates. Expect maybe a change in your bowel movements. Expect a change in your energy and certain things along the way, but then also to describe the benefits that are going to follow soon behind. So I'm gonna put this together pretty soon and post that. We have a Facebook group where we've got about 250 subscribers now, in a private group that we're sharing information like this with all the time, and trying to help people heal and sit and be a beacon for those people to come to us and learn what we've learned.
That's awesome. So if people want to get in contact with you, is it best to go to that private group?
Yeah, absolutely. That's kind of where we're getting started. We've got some plans. We'd started a YouTube channel, but we're still building content for that right now, so it's not really out there yet. But we've well established our Facebook group. It's called Low Carb for Longevity. Generally, I think you can just do a search on it and find it. It is a private group, so you just request access, and we'll gladly let you in. And we've had a bit of an explosion of interest in that group lately. So we were kind of sitting around 200 members, and I think in the last couple of days we've added 50 more members. So um, yeah, it's growing now, and I think as we gain more and more momentum in Canada, especially on the East Coast, that we're really going to gain some traction here and really start sharing the truth. And the other thing I want to make clear, um, because I find it a little bit discouraging that that people, some people that are on a different path, are really trying to profit from um, what they're trying to express as far as a way of eating goes, or taking supplements goes, or it always seems like a bit of a side hustle, or people trying to protect their pensions. And I just want everybody to know this is free. This is just shifting your way of eating. We don't charge anything for sharing our story. Our group is free, and anybody can try this free, and anybody can continue with this for the rest of their lives for free. We're not here to profit from this. We're just here to try to help people heal and be healthy and stay healthy.
Well said. So, Scott, I'll link to the Facebook group in the show notes.
Great,
Um,
appreciate that.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
I appreciate the opportunity, and really appreciate people like you who have built platforms that are that have kind of gained popularity, so that so now we have a way to really get this information out there and share it, around the world. I'm eternally grateful to you and to the group of doctors and scientists and nutrition specialists and athletes that have all chosen this path, and that share the information freely.